G'day everyone. So we're here to protest against the Religious Discrimination Bill. It's kind of a nice day, but it's kind of not. We'll get up around the corner, we should nearly be able to see or hear them. A lot of wind, hopefully it doesn't interfere. I do have both cameras today though, so I should be able to get something usable at the end of nearly there. Future of camera. Blowing the tripod sideways. Oh, I think I see them. There they are. Very quiet. Very quiet. Now today's meant to be 1 till 2:30. They're not meant to be going anywhere, so I'm assuming it's just lots of speeches. Oh. Oh. Is it after 1 o'clock yet? It'd have to be. I was barely running on time today. Awesome, we'll set up right here. I think, oh no, that's their stage over there. Oh, I don't know. That might be their stage there. Maybe I'll go over here. Alrighty. Right here. Oops. Am I not flat? And then I'll fix my other camera up and I will take you guys off the clip. You can have a look. Nothing going on yet. I'm not quite sure what they're... Oh, well, that's that. So I don't know if I should go offline for a little while and then come back. It's very windy, you probably can't even hear me, but that's okay, you'll be right. And yeah, there's some little kids, a few different rainbow people. I thought they'd have a huge crowd. Usually they get, well, to be honest, I haven't been to many of the ones here in a green place. There always seems to be other stuff on. Equal rights for all, not special rights for some. Isn't that the whole point of the Religious Discrimination Bill, is to even out the religious versus lifestyle versus medical rights kind of thing? And I find it ironic that they want, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't allow someone to come into their LGBT youth groups and start evangelising. So I don't see why they think it is discrimination the other way around, or why it's not some form of positive discrimination to maintain an individual's personal ethos or an institution's ethos. Oh, so this is it. Put you back on the thing so I can move. There we go.
Thanks everyone for being here today. My name's Lily. I'm the National LGBTI officer. It's excellent to be here in Canberra, far away to protest today against the Religious Discrimination Bill. And I think we know for sure that this bill has
I need
nothing
to go a bit closer so you can hear.
of people anywhere in this country, regardless of their background or origin. This bill is about repressing people, putting people back in their box, and disgracefully, it's supported by both sides of government who seek to blame the result of the election on right-wing people in the western suburbs of Sydney. They seek to blame it on a racial characteristic that is totally false. We know that the real homophobes in society are the people at the top, the people who push back against us, the people that we beat in the marriage equality survey. And it's excellent to see more people here today. The first speaker today is Kenya from Equal Love. Kenya's done a lot to build this rally today, so please welcome her up. The LGBTI community has overcome persecution, bigotry,
She looks familiar, doesn't she?
time and time again by fighting. We're out in the streets every time they try to take back those rights, and we'll be back next time as well. Despite the best efforts of Tony Abbott and co, the LGBTI community and everyone here in support is still bright and colourful and ready to fight.
No, it's certainly on one there too.
We were out in 2017 to show the government what democracy really looks like. In a system in which we vote once every 3 years and end up with one of two parties, neither of which will fight for LGBT rights, is hardly active participation in democracy. A YouGov poll found that 80% of Australians oppose the right of religious schools to expel LGBTI students and fire LGBTI teachers. So why is this legislation still in place? Why are right-wing politicians and governments pushing for this to be further entrenched against the democratic will of the people? This is a vicious, deliberate attack from the right-wing capitalist class of Australia. The right wants to paint Christian people as white middle-class shitheads, basically, with homogenous ideas. But it's not true. Many working-class, regular people turn to religion for love, acceptance, community, and reassurance in the face of a system that is fundamentally anti-human and makes people feel like crap every day. This bill is not in the interest of these communities. Are they not the ones pushing for it? As a Christian personally, it's been my experience that the church is about community.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it, John?
For the rights of the oppressed in the system.
The speaker doesn't seem to be working.
The Bible is entirely dependent on your political agenda.
Yeah, hopefully the other camera's getting more.
Read the Bible and find many sections to support your ideology. Slave owners in America argued that the Bible gave them the right to own slaves. During the Civil Rights Movement, the Bible was used to justify the right to deny service to black people. Now, this sham of a bill wants to further enshrine the right to discriminate in the law.
Hopefully I'm getting better on the camera one. Maybe everyone will have to watch it later.
It's the fucking child rapists at the top of the church. These sociopathic, power-hungry, tax-avoiding clowns should be held out. How dare they talk about abortion? Imagine
Yeah, I
thinking
think I
that
might
these
have
fellas
anything in discrimination
all
coming
black children.
out
Tony Abbott wants to lock
under
up
existing
as many
law.
immigrant children as physically possible on Manus and Nauru. But all of a sudden, when there's a portion of cell inside a woman's body, they are interested in protecting life. We won marriage equality under a conservative government because we fought. The second we stop fighting, they come crawling out of their bigoted holes to try and claw their rights to discriminate back. So we have to not stop fighting, and we have to be back here in the streets for gay rights.
She spoke
Not
at the
the
rally
church,
yesterday.
not the state, no right to discriminate. Not the church, not the state, no right to discriminate. Not the church, not the state, no right to discriminate. Not the church, not the state, no right to discriminate.
the state.
No right to discriminate.
Not the church, not the state.
No right to discriminate.
Thanks so much, Kenya, for that excellent speech. I'd like to welcome us before we
Speaking to the
start
microphone, you lot.
and acknowledge that we're standing on the land of the Ngunnawal people, the Ngambri people, and we're standing on Ngunnawal country. Sovereignty never ceded in Australia, and genocide is an ongoing process. And I would like to extend my solidarity with Indigenous struggles happening all over this country for land rights, fighting back against the Morrison government. Our next speaker, who's coming up to the stage, is Shane Rattenbury from the Greens, so please give Shane a warm welcome.
I believe, unless there's been some change since I looked last, he's our Justice Minister here in the
It's great to
ACT.
be here with you all this afternoon, and thanks for turning up in support, in solidarity, and in support of a really important issue of equality in this country. Thanks also to Equal Love for helping to put this together in Canberra. Equal Love's done a lot of work in the last few years to really make the case for our LGBTIQ community and equality in this city. I'm pleased they're still in the fight. I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians and add my remarks to those made earlier. When I was asked to speak today, I was reflecting on the fact that in some ways, I really wish I didn't have to be here. Not because I don't want to be here with all of you guys, but because we should not have to be here today. It seems as though the federal government just can't stop looking for new ways to cause friction in our community, and we're again forced to take up the fight and fight to protect freedoms for people in our communities. I've also been reflecting on the cumulative impact of these debates on the LGBTQI community, specifically here in Australia. Whether it's a direct attack, as we saw in the negative marriage equality debate, very unnecessary marriage equality debate, or the more indirect, the constant background noise of discrimination and vilification, it takes a toll. It does take a toll, and I want to express my solidarity with those who are feeling dispirited or disenfranchised by that constant noise.
No, Connie's not
You
calling
should not
you
have to
out.
put up with it. Not in this country, not in this day and age. It simply reflects poor leadership and reflects, I think, badly on those who lead that sort of voicing, both the federal government and the conservative and right-wing media mouthpieces. What I can say, though, is I'm really proud to be here today as a member of the ACT government, as a member of the Greens, and as a Canberran, because we do live in the most progressive, the most compassionate, and the most inclusive city in Australia, and that's something this community is rightly proud
Those
of.
communists.
It's not an accident if that's the case, I think, and it comes from the activism of people like yourselves and many others who've come before. And it's also a result of a commitment by the government for our
the
city
Labor
to be
Greens
that way.
government for how long now?
Back in 2016, we saw real pressure on the Muslim community in Australia, open hatred, open vilification. At that time, I moved an amendment to the Discrimination Act in the Assembly to outlaw religious vilification. At the same time, the government also made it illegal to vilify someone because of disability, religion, race, sexuality, gender identity or HIV status. These are now embedded in law in the ACT, and I think that reflects the commitment to make sure that this is an inclusive and welcoming city. And then when we saw parts of the Rudd Review leaked in 2018, the government acted
No, of
swiftly
course not.
to make sure
He introduced the
the broad
religious
exemptions
bit
for religious
for
schools around
Islam.
Australia were not carried on here in the ACT. We think they're out of step with community values, and we wanted to make a quick difference on that. And so we clarified exemptions in the Discrimination Act to better support ACT students and education workers, teachers and others, to live a life free from discrimination. So that's where we're at in the ACT, and we are here together in protest to ensure that any changes to federal law to protection of religious freedom laws do not result in any diminution of those existing rights we've fought hard for in the ACT, or the protections currently enjoyed by people here in Canberra. The government's draft package of legislative reforms on religious freedom and human rights amendments has been out for consultation for a couple of weeks, but it's important to remember it's only the first step. There is a long way to go in this fight, and I'm really pleased to see organisations like the ACT's Human Rights Commission making strong representations to that inquiry process to make sure that human rights are stood up for, that discrimination is opposed, and I can assure you that myself and other members of the ACT government will continue to make sure as much as we can that those sort of laws don't become laws in Australia, that the standards we have here in the ACT become the standards for Australia, and that we don't sink to a lowest common denominator. The price of freedom seems to be constant vigilance, and I can assure you, myself and the ACT Greens will always stand beside you and any member of the community on the side of diversity, acceptance and understanding. Thanks for being here today, and keep up the fight, everyone.
Good point.
Queer
White male
rights
talking
are
about
under
it.
attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
And queer rights are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
And what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
And what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
I think since the Cretans in Parliament lost the marriage equality survey, they've been doing everything that they can to bitterly make up for it by trying to push homophobia and transphobic bigotry through the back door, because they don't think that they can get away with being so blatant anymore about their bigotry, because we smashed them back. For years and years, people protested on the streets all over this country, and we changed popular opinion through protest. But now the system is hitting back, and I really agree with the speaker before. The price of freedom is constant vigilance. The vicious attacks that are happening now on trans people are part of a much broader crusade as well to push back on the attacks of all of the oppressed and all of our rights. We saw earlier this year in New South Wales the right seriously mobilising around figures like Barnaby Joyce to push back on a woman's right to choose how and what she does with her body. Shame. Shame. It's excellent though to see that we have so many union representatives here today, and with that I'd like to welcome up Madeline Northam from Unions ATT to speak from the platform.
Hi everyone, I would also like to acknowledge that on the land of the Ngunnawal people and pay my respects to elders past and present. I'd also like to acknowledge that we do live in an amazing progressive city led by a Labor government, and acknowledge Minister Suzanne Orr is here from that government today. Comrades, as I was introduced, I'm Maddie Northam. I'm the President of Unions ACT, and I'm also Regional Secretary of the Community Public Sector Union, and I'm here because equality is here. Unions ACT and affiliates stood by our community during the marriage equality debate. We went out knocking doors. We really took a lead in that fight, and we're here at this community in this fight today. This legislation is nothing more than the cost of Turnbull's deal with the devil to get the plebiscite through marriage equality.
Really bad microphone.
And this is we're not just fighting for our rights. We're fighting against this retrograde legislation being put forward. As we've seen through history, every hard-fought victory or advancement for our community is just attacked more and more from the Conservative right. We know there are plenty of those in Morrison's government, including our very own Zetzi Soja here in Canberra.
Don't tell anyone.
The content of the draft legislation really does expose the dark underbelly of a government beholden to the radical right, a government driven by the politics of fear and division that we see taking over in Trump's America. This is exactly what sits at the heart of this legislation: fear, hate and division. The bill is not about freedom, and it's definitely not about religion. This is about hatred and bigotry. We know this government believes in the right to be a bigot, and that this is
Got a
nothing
bit of
more
intolerance on display on the
to
stage.
enshrine that in legislation. We know that discrimination in religious institutions and organisation already takes place. We've heard cases of teachers in Catholic schools being sacked for getting pregnant via IVF. Unions have fought for staff in same-sex relationships that have been moved out of leadership
Never heard
roles in
that one.
schools to being identified as being in a same-sex
To go find
relationship.
that citation.
Now we know these things are already happening, and this bill only provides further licence for discrimination against our community by these organisations and individuals who hold antiquated views. This bill would entrench discrimination in institutions that have failed to keep pace with the modern world, which is absolutely no surprise given it's been put forward by a government that seems hostile to moving into this modern world at all. Based on this bill, this government thinks it's more important that a bigot's right to be a bigot unless it's the big business's right to make a profit. That's the only exception in here. There's no surprises there. The government's position on the so-called religious freedom sits in stark contrast with their crusade against political communication in public servants. We've seen attacks on public servants right here in Canberra.
I don't, but I do know that there's been no one sacked in the ACT by a religious school for being gay or
Rather, it's
otherwise.
committed to division.
One man said that he left out of respect for the ethos of the church.
We know that the government have really
That's not being discriminated
So let's stand
against.
together
That's
and say no
yeah,
to
and that was
hate,
his choice. The
no
church
to
didn't
division,
ask, and he made that
no
quite
to
clear.
discrimination, and no to this bill.
Hey, hey, ho, ho! Transphobia's got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho!
Transphobia's got to go. Hey, hey,
ho, ho!
Transphobia's got to go. Hey, hey,
Hey, ho, ho!
Transphobia's got to go. Hey, hey,
Ho, ho!
Transphobia's got to go.
Thanks very much, Maddie. I think it's important that we recognise as well that it's not just the liberals who are feeling emboldened after their electoral win. It's also the far right who are feeling emboldened as a result. Across the country, there are multiple far right representatives in Parliament who are using their positions of power to enact hatred and bigotry and spread it amongst the population. In New South Wales, there's Mark Latham, who's literally dishing out packs to schools all across the country for how it is that they can challenge the cultural Marxist agenda embedded in trans school children. Shame.
Shame.
Recognizing that the far
It's
right
actually
are
about
taking
cultural
up this issue
Marxist
so
agenda, it's not
strongly
about-
also means that we have to reject not just homophobic and not just transphobic bigotry, but also recognize that we have to challenge the far right on every front. So being an activist for queer rights also means that you have to be an activist, an anti-racist activist, an activist against every front that the far right is fighting on. And I encourage you to join demonstrations around every issue to bring down the Morrison government and all of his far right friends. 1 second, sorry. Our last speaker today, before we're going to have a little march around the block, is Tess Carlton. Tess is a high school student activist here who's been really involved in the school strikes for climate recently. So
How
please welcome
dare
Tess,
you? You
everyone.
ready?
Very windy. Alright, technical difficulties because of the wind. So, I would like
Holding
to
a copy
begin
of
by
Red
acknowledging
Flag.
that we do stand on the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people's land, and that it being stolen land, and it always will be, and always was, Aboriginal land. High school is a time when people are forming their identities. It's when a lot of people have their gay awakening and start to explore their gender or sexuality as potentially something other than what our heteronormative society has deemed normal, straight and cis. High school is, in its best form, a place that encourages students to explore themselves and discover who they are in terms of sexuality, gender, personal values, and political beliefs. It's important that young people decide the world they want to create and choose whether they want to create a world that is accepting of them and everyone around them, or a world that isn't. This world where trans kids get beaten to death and gay kids get kicked out of their homes is not a world that is accepting of children, whoever they are. Conservative Christian groups in Australia feel oppressed. They think that in a world where LGBT students are twice as likely to experience homelessness than non-LGBT students, and more likely to experience it younger, that they're the ones who are really oppressed because they have to treat us like humans. They think oppression is not being allowed to tell gay people they're going to hell. Whereas I see that the actual oppression of gay people has led to 29% of LGBT youth attempting suicide in comparison to 6% of heterosexual youth. And lots of those kids probably fell prone to that because bigoted assholes felt they need to tell them they were going to hell. The High Court has recently said that public servants can be sacked for privately and anonymously saying that Jesus might not be keen on the torture of refugees. A religious freedoms bill might be nice in these times because we actually believe in freedom of speech. This legislation is not about the freedom of religious speech. It is only designed to protect people like Israel Folau in his vilification of LGBTI people. While Rugby Australia would be
I don't know
subject
where
to this
they're getting
bill,
that
the Commonwealth
from.
government has completely exempted
torture
itself from
thing
allowing
from.
religious
That's stupid.
expression to its employees. This year,
They're not even saying torturing LGBTI through conversion therapy. They're saying torturing refugees.
in the major football codes to ever have come out as gay while playing.
Of the tens of thousands of footballers at that level in Australia across history, we've had one come out as gay in the 1990s and one this year. Tell me that isn't a homophobic culture. Does Israel Folau need more protection? Should we abandon our queer youth and tell them they aren't allowed to be both gay and sporty? Folau's comments cement a homophobic rhetoric and culture that mean that gay athletes feel unable to come out. They feel trapped and attacked. It means that not only do adult players feel like this because of Folau reinforcing this culture, but 16-year-olds who enjoy playing football feel crushed and unable to come out as who they are. If we don't want nearly 30% of gay youth attempting suicide, then we need to provide freedom from where the actual oppression is, not freedom to oppress.
And get rid of all the discrimination
Trans
laws.
Pathway study found that 80%
Get rid of all of them.
trans
Treat
people
everyone
self-harm.
equally.
48% had attempted suicide. Youth LGBT are already a part of the fight. They are facing the dire consequences of others' homophobia and transphobia, which is why we need to fight to make that unacceptable.
One page to go.
With statistics like that, we need to be ensuring the protections for LGBTI people, not protecting bigots masking their bigotry with religion and their supposed right to make every second trans youth feel they need to commit suicide. The act of coming out in of itself is a fight, because to some people, the act of me existing out of the closet is offensive. And I'm sorry to those people living in the 1950s, but I am here, and I am queer, and I will not be silenced! The act of coming out apart, the feeling of analysing your friends and family, trying to work out if that kind of homophobic comment meant they'd be unaccepting of you, or if they might be able to move past it because they do love you. Even to the people you are so certain will accept you, there's an element of fear to coming out, because what if they don't? What happens if they don't support you? My experience has been a lucky one. I am privileged to say that I've not faced any of the hardships thousands of LGBT youth face daily in Australia. I am bisexual, and everyone I've come out to has been completely supportive of me. And I want that for all young people. It is key that we all need to fight. Young people need to band together and fight against oppression together, whether it be refugee action, or gay rights, or women's rights. Because if we don't get out there, those idiots in Parliament will think they can get away with taking away our human rights. Our oppression is linked. We only have power in numbers, but we do have power. These are issues which impact LGBT youth. Me and my peers in high school cannot vote. The path to which we are always told is our option for change, just vote them out in the next election, is not open to us. But this government makes decisions about our lives and determines that religious bigots should be allowed to make me feel like I am not okay the way I am. So what can we do except fight back? Show up to protest in solidarity and scream, "We will not be silenced! You do not speak for us!" High schoolers need to be involved in shaping the future we want to see, because I personally want to see it change, and that only happens if we make it. We need to fight against homophobia and transphobia because they are objectively bad things and they are hurting people. We need to fight against this appalling religious exemptions bill, and we need to fight together. That was an excellent speech. Thanks so much, Tess. Okay, guys, we're going to march around the block, heading out that way. So follow people out
we're going marching.
But maybe show up with a chant. Not the church, not the state, no right to discriminate.
You already did that one, guys.
Not the state,
No right to discriminate. Not the church, not the state. No right to discriminate.
We're going for a march.
Not the state. No right to discriminate.
not the church, not the state.
No right to discriminate. Not the church, not the state. No right to discriminate.
Well, it's going to impact the freedom of conscience as well, and that's what a lot of people don't realise. It's in religion they don't actually. It's pretty much freedom to believe whatever you want to believe, and they want to say that you can't have that freedom. My legs are too long. Oh, they're leaving me behind.
Sorry.
Oh, do you want
But
that?
then, yeah.
Damn. I'm too far behind now. It's alright, I walk faster than they do. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Recognise that one? And that one? That little Asian one? They actually look a bit different to what they usually do because this lot can be really nasty. They're doing rainbow stuff. I'll post some videos of them all from a couple of years ago later. Now, I thought they didn't want people told to go to hell because it was bad for their mental health. Look, it's Frank.
Yeah, hence I'm covering my face.
Homophobia's got to go, hey hey! Ho ho! Homophobia's got to go, hey hey! Ho ho! Homophobia's got to go, hey hey! Ho ho! Homophobia's got to go,
I can see comments, but I can't read that the sun's too bright.
homophobia's got to go, hey hey! Ho ho! Homophobia's got to go, hey hey! Ho ho! Homophobia's got to go, hey hey! Ho ho! Homophobia's
You'd
got to go,
recognise some of
hey
these
hey!
peers from yesterday.
Homophobia's got to go, hey hey! Ho ho! Homophobia's got to go, hey hey! Ho ho! Transphobia's 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 got to go, hey hey! Ho ho! Transphobia's
No people join in that weren't already part of it, unlike yesterday.
got to go, hey hey!
doggo is joining into. The bee. Oh, we're nearly finished. This is even worse than the climate one. Into a hole. I think they've nearly finished already, unless they're going to do another lap.
No right to discriminate.
Yeah,
No right to discriminate.
I think that's the lesbian one up there. I get the colours mixed up. There's too many of them these days. I can tell you what the map one looks like. Filthy, disgusting things they are.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. Lovely day in Canberra and an excellent day to take a stand for our rights against the Liberal government, against the bigots who seek to press back down on our rights. So keep in touch with Equal Love, keep in touch with the National Union of Students LGBTI page, and thank you again for coming out today.
Oh, is that it? Is that it? I'm very disappointed. It's trying to feel like it might have been. That's it. That's it. That's. I'm not sure what their argument was exactly. I have to go and look at that thing about the lady with the IVF. Haven't heard of that one before. But yeah, as I said, no one's actually been sacked for being gay or trans. No one's been kicked out simply for being gay or trans. So I don't know what they're on about. Alright guys, well thanks for joining me once again. Yeah, I'll go home and start clipping up my bits from yesterday and bits from today, and might sit down and do a live stream later on this afternoon with a beer and have an actual chat. What do you reckon? You can get sacked for expressing discomfort of homosexuals, bisexuals or transsexuals in the ACT. Here where I live, yeah. The mere expression of discomfort is zero tolerance sacking offence. So they were just trying to even up the laws. As I said, they should just get rid of all the garbage discrimination laws and treat everybody equally under the law. Pretty simple. Something is either a crime or it's not. Alright guys, have a good one and thanks for listening.